Hello once again and welcome to Willow Talk and welcome to the first time if you're a new listener. It's Adam Peacock here in the studio with Brad Haddin. Welcome back, Hads.
Mate, it's good to be back. I know you missed me or the messages I got from you just wasn't the same. But I tell you what, the one thing I do notice is the weather. I hopped up this morning to have a coffee with my mates. Last time I went for a run, it was at 41 degrees. Today wasn't enjoyable, but it's good to be home. Got a lot to talk about with the IPL. We got out a live.
You did. Well done.
Yeah, the tournament was extended, but we fell short just at the end. But all in all, it was a successful campaign.
You're looking fit and you're looking happy, especially because the hat you got on. Our listeners, people who are watching this on the YouTube channel of Listener Sport will know, but Brad Haddin is sitting here with a massive grin on his face because he's a big rugby league fan. He's got his Canberra Raiders hat on. He got back just in time to watch his Canberra Raiders demolish Souths on the weekend. I reckon they're favourites for the whole comp, so it's yours to lose. A bit like the IPL with Punjab.
Oh, that's not a good start, mate. How good was Papa? You can't...
Josh Papali'i, the big unit.
Mate, you cannot write a script better than that. Mind you, Galvin wrote a pretty good one yesterday, but you cannot write a script. 2 tries, goal, Ricky Stewart in tears. Mate, I've already booked my box for the grand final.
Well, that's getting ahead of yourself. When you're overseas, are you that far? Do you feel in any way, what connects you most back with Australia? Because I've travelled a little bit, haven't in a while, but you kind of become disconnected with day-to-day life, much to the happiness of the family sometimes when you ring up, how's it going? You hear 4 screaming kids in the background. But in all seriousness...
You know what you say then?
What?
Mate, honey, I've got a meeting.
Yeah.
She goes, it's 8 o'clock at night. I say, you know the weird time. Bye.
Yeah.
As soon as I can hear the kids screaming, I've got a meeting.
So what connects you with home? Sport. Yeah.
But we're lucky enough you've got your Fire Stick. You can watch the NRL when you're away. You can listen to all the coverage on Triple M as well. So you've got enough downtime to get the delights of home. But I miss the coffee. Far out.
It's the only thing you missed.
Oh, big time. It's like drinking rocket fuel.
Kids, wife,
They came over.
Yeah, they did too. That's right. How good. So today on this episode, we're going to preview the World Test Championship in detail. Starts tomorrow night as we record it right here. We're looking forward to it to see how Australia get on against South Africa and Australia defending the title as World Test Champions. We want to go into a greater detail with Hads about his Punjab Kings making the final, just falling short in the 2025 IPL. It was an interesting tournament in more ways than one, and the ICC Hall of Fame has a few new people in it, so we're going to be talking through that, plus plenty more in Sundries. Make sure you follow us on social media. Just search Willow Talk Podcast on Instagram and TikTok, and if you want to see our faces, head to, as mentioned, Listener Sport on YouTube. And shout out to Heels for doing the big freeze across the long weekend here in Australia. She dressed as Australian icon Sharon Strzelecki from Kath and Kim. So Magda Zubanski's character in that, the netballer with the neck brace on, and it was all a great cause fighting motor neurone disease. Neil Danaher there, the icon of it all. He was there again. And Heels, how would you sum up her performance down the slide there, Hads?
Very brave, very brave. But I think the big story to come out of that is her and Warnie rekindling their relationship. Mark Taylor went down as the king, but great cause. I like seeing Healy and Tubby suffer a bit.
Yeah,
I didn't mind that, but it's a great cause. It's a wonderful day. You just have to look at the support behind it, but it's the reaction when they hit that cold water. I'm a sook when it comes to cold water.
Yeah,
but good day.
Absolutely, and a stack of money raised for the Fight MND cause. Okay, let's get into it. World Test Championship just around the corner, the final at Lords. Firstly, before we go into this, what's your favourite memory about playing against South Africa? You've told a few Dale Steyn stories in your time here on Willow Talk.
You've put the same clip up at least 30 times. And you know what? It's been 3 weeks since you last put it up, so I'll be very surprised. The perfect forward defence.
There was a stump in Cape Town. There was a stump in Johannesburg. There was a stump in Port Elizabeth.
That's a good ball, though.
But no, in all seriousness, we had Mark Taylor here talking about the old school because he was obviously in the Australian Test team when South Africa came back in, and they came back in with a bang, like they were ready. South Africa. And Tubby spoke of how much there was so much respect between the two sides because it's very similar in terms of competitiveness. Did you find that playing against South Africa, the competitive nature of them?
Yeah, you both play very similar styles. South Africa, obviously, a very proud nation, and since they've come back in, they've come back in and they play very similar to us. I'll tell you what my fondest memory playing South Africa was. We lost a home series here. South Africa. I'll tell you why.
It could be a fond memory. Mate, they chased out 400 plus.
Well, they did. AB de Villiers and I think Graham Smith got one for hundreds in Perth. They beat us at the MCG, but then we had the return leg in South Africa, and we went over there for a 3-match series. We won the first 2, and we won it in Durban. And I remember Ricky Ponting just waiting for us all to walk off. We had a young team, guys like Phil Hughes had come in. He got back-to-back hundreds in that test match. But I remember him saying, this is as good as win as I've ever been a part of. And the reason it was is the way we fought back. We got beaten at home. We had a young squad. South Africa had a red-hot team at the time. They had Jacques Kallis, who I think needs to be in the conversation more about the best who's ever played this game. He's got over 10,000 runs, 300 wickets, 200 and something catches. So any single part of that would have been a great career. And it probably doesn't get enough accolades because of the person he was. He just went about his business. He had Graham Smith, who was a good leaver, AB de Villiers. And I think that feeling after we won that series was as good as I've had any time in my career. I know the Ashes stand right up there, but South Africa, proud nation, they love beating us more than anything, and it's on. But the one thing I found with South Africa is after each test, you shared a beer together. You shared some company, and I think they like the exposure then. I've seen the guys like your Ricky Pontings and your Mitchell Johnsons to feed off as well. But, yeah, that was my best memory about playing South Africa.
So the current day, the two squads are there and, Australia, the big talking point is who will open. It sounds like, listening to Usman Khawaja speak in an open call the other day at Lords, that Marnus is being prepped to open. Does it sound like that for you with Green at 4? As we sit here right now, we don't know. You're listening to it, you might already know because they might have released it overnight, but feels like that.
Feels like Marnus goes to the top, which I actually think this is a really good move. I think Green will slot in at number 3. Hazelwood will come back in, I'd imagine, for bowling.
Green at 4 or 3?
Nah, 3. You can't move
3?
Steve Smith.
Leave Smith at 4.
Yes. They've tried with Steve Smith as opener. He's gone back to number 4. And since he's gone back, you just have to look what he did in Sri Lanka. He's found his mojo. Mate, he looks extremely fit and hungry. So I'm not moving Steve Smith anymore.
So you look at it and you go, 3, 4, 4, 3. Does it really, really matter? The intricate detail, why is it? It sounds like in your eyes it's a bit of a no-no to move Steve Smith to 3 if he's going so well.
His record's
great
at 3. His record's great at number 3, but I just think we've worked enough around moving Steve Smith. He's comfortable there. Mate, I tell you what, he's got a great record at Lords as well. So I think Cameron Green, he's coming off a red-hot start to the county summer, and I think this was always going to be a natural progression for him anyway. He batted at 4 last time he played, got a great 100 last time he played against New Zealand. And Marnus at the top, he might have been without the runs he would have wanted for some time at number 3, but I think opener's going to suit his personality. I think he's one of those guys that needs to get out and not think too much about what's happening out there. Just go in, put your pads on and get out there and play. So I think the move will suit him. Up the top, and then you got Lyon, Hazelwood, Camo and Stark round out your bowling.
We'll get to the bowling in a minute, but just back to Marnus. You've seen something about, technically or whatever it is, about why he might be, because we saw it even when he played for Glamorgan recently. Yeah. He was out again with the bat way outside off stump. Is there something that he needs to correct there that you can see? I mean, you're not in the inner sanctum and not seeing the net sessions, but
I think there's a little bit of a trend with the way he was getting dismissed, just squaring up. that back hip and catching practice to the slips. But going back, he would have gone in the Australian squad. He's worked this whole time, and my understanding, he's done a lot of work on his technique leading into this. And I just think opening's going to suit him. And he's one of those guys that like a fight. He likes to get into the contest, and this is a big occasion for him now. You got young Sam there knocking down the door. You got Josh Inglis, who got 100 on debut. So there's probably eight guys that got to go into those 5 or 6 spots. So this might be his last chance to really start to cement that spot at the top of the order, because there's got a lot of kids now following who are in good form.
How do you reckon they've handled Sam Constas in the last 6 months? In terms of logic might tell you that if you can handle Jasprit Bumrah the way he did handle, I put that in loose terms because no one really handled him, but Sam did something different against him on the biggest stage there is in Australian cricket, and yet he is not used in Sri Lanka. He's not going to be used for this. You think, well, hang on a minute, if he can do that against Jasprit Bumrah, why can't he play these test matches? Yeah. That's the one logical way of looking at it. But there's another school of thought, obviously. It's like, let's take our time with this guy. Where do you fall?
Well, I think he's developing just the way we need him to. He came out in that whirlwind first test match and did something to throw Bumrah off his length. He was dominating the series. And you just have to go to the next test where he started with a third man. So he made an immediate impact on the style of play that India were playing. And then he had the opportunity to come back to state cricket, and his name was everywhere. His name was up in lights, and his whole life changed in that moment. And I don't think you can underestimate the sort of effect that has on a young kid. He's got some good people around him, and just watching what he's done over the last 6 weeks, he's done a lot of work on his technique, which is great. He's gone away and identified some areas that he needs to work on, which is great. He would have had some great conversations with the senior players in the Australian setup in Sri Lanka. Andrew McDonald would have had a really clear path on what he needs to see from him. So when he came back to get ready for this series, he would have known exactly where he stood, what he needs to do in his game. And you've got to remember, he's developing. He's a development player. Yes, we want to see him in the test team, but he's got 15 years there. And so the next time I think he gets his chance, I think you're going to see a different player.
Windies, do you reckon? And how does that suit his game, those conditions over there? You know him well.
Yeah, I think he's a big chance to play in the West Indies. I do, but you've got a lot of cricket coming up. You've got guys like Usman in there who've been the mainstay for a long time. They've probably got 18 months at most. Maybe they'll go after the Ashes. So Sam's going to have opportunities. But what I like now is he's learning about his game and himself. Like what he got thrown into and the exposure. Mate, as a 19-year-old kid, that's totally different. So he would have learned a lot from that. So expect a different player when he gets his opportunity.
It's an interesting cycle that Australia's been on these last 2 years with the test team, because it's very much ball then bat, because you look at, just by virtue of the numbers, you've only got 2 batters who've averaged over 40.
Yeah.
So it's Smith and Usman. Uzi obviously pumped up his numbers in Sri Lanka, which is fair.
But that's been happening in world cricket though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's and then you get to the bowlers, and every one of the 5 that we've used consistently, Cummins, Stark, Lyon, Hazelwood, Boland, have averaged 27 or under.
Yep.
That's good going. That's really good. And all of them have, like the big 4 have taken over 50 wickets each. It's in a 2-year period. We played a lot of test cricket, but it just goes to show what could then decide in these conditions this test match. You'd say ball. Now, you spent a lot of time with Marco Jansen, the big giraffe of South Africa. Yeah. He's a tall man, isn't he?
Cool, yeah.
How is it Marco?
You know what, with Marco, I don't think he realises how good he can be yet. I think he's just starting to understand it.
Well, please tell me you didn't pump up his tyres to full inflation when you were there at the IPL ahead of this World Test Championship.
For someone so tall, he's athletic.
Yeah.
He's got great hands in the slips. He's going to be a genuine all-rounder in world cricket because he bats good enough to bat at number 7. But with the ball, someone coming from that height, he can swing the ball. Your margin for error is a lot bigger when you're coming from that height because straight away your feet and eye line are different when you're facing someone that tall.
Like from the top of the hill there at Lords, is he going to go over the pavilion?
Yep.
His arm?
Yeah, from the high end, he definitely is. But
great.
The one thing with him, I think we're about to see the best in Marco in the next 3 or 4 years. I think at some stage in that time he'll be number 1 ranked fast bowler in the world because he's just starting to understand. And it takes time for everyone once you get exposure to international cricket. And he's played a lot of tournaments around the world now that how good he can be. So let's just hope it's not this test match.
Well, if he takes 12 in this test match,
he'll enjoy the slope.
It's you and Ponting who Australia should blame. Both of you.
Nah, we might have sabotaged him.
How?
We
Doesn't sound like it.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're in love with him.
Well, I think as a player, I tell you the other thing I've noticed will be an advantage for South Africa, and they'll need all they can get. Stuart Broad.
Yeah.
I've always thought Stuart Broad would be a really good coach. Just the way he recognised moments in games with the ball, the way he spoke about, even on commentary now, the way he speaks about how you work a batsman out, how you build pressure. So if you need someone to understand Lords, Stuart Broad is definitely that person. So do I think South Africa can get us up? I just think our bowlers will be way superior to their batsmen, and our batters will get enough runs.
How much change could a guy like Stuart Broad make in a short amount of time before a one-off test?
Huge.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think he can.
It's just little details that are all the difference?
Well, little details, like Lords is a unique ground to play at with the slope. Like you can have someone standing at one end and not be able to see the top of their head at the other with the slope. So just little details about that and the conditions. The other thing, he always performed against us. He loved the contest of an Ashes campaign. He was the villain. He knew how to get under our skin at times as well. But the one thing he was a skillful bowler. So I think he'll not only be very good for their bowling group with the lengths they have to bowl and how to use the slope to your advantage, but it'll be also good for the psyche of that group. As South Africa, got to remember, haven't come up in any sort of final for a long time. There's a lot of pressure on them to turn that around.
I do wonder with Stuart Broad if there's an Australian or two over there living in England. They've turned the little sabbatical over there to go and work for 2 years into a lifestyle, but they've still got the T-shirts from 12, 13 years ago of Stuart Broad as a shit bloke. That Graham Swan so eloquently described that story of walking along the Brisbane and Brisbane River back in the day when the Courier Mail was absolutely giving it. I was watching that again last night.
And I think
he did.
And I think part of that with Stuart Broad is what he can put in the South African squad. He's not getting overawed by those situations.
Yeah.
Australia know how to play. One, we're really good at tournament play, but we're really good at understanding how to get through a big match. And Stuart Broad will be good for their whole squad. Just conversations around a coffee.
Who's the danger with the bat then if South Africa are to get enough runs? You just mentioned before that Australia should get more runs, South Africa, and be just a little bit better with the ball. But who might turn that on its head?
Yeah, if I go through their batting and look at the top of the order, Rickleton and Markram, they're both had reasonable IPLs. Markram's a class act. He's starting to understand his game. Rickleton will take the game on, but the one I reckon who can cause the biggest problems there is Stubbs. And I tell you what, he's a huge human. He's got a presence on the game. And if he can find a way not to get intimidated by the situation and put his presence on the game and look to take the Australian bowlers on, I think he can be someone that can put the advantage back to South Africa if he's brave enough to do that. And you're coming up against arguably one of the best bowling attacks we've ever had. So has he got the confidence to do that? He would have seen a lot of Mitchell Starc in the recent IPL. So you'd imagine he wouldn't be as intimidated by what Starkey has to offer because he would have seen a lot. But I think he's someone, if he gets going, the rate he scores, I think he can cause some damage. It's just whether he gets overawed by the situation.
So Pat Cummins got it up on Willow Talk socials. He had a chat to us saying that all the boys are giddy about being back together, loving the nets, and the feeling is good. Massive selection headaches, obviously, for both batsmen and bowlers. Travis Head, here's a quote. Gone are the days of an optional session that wasn't optional. We're in a great environment now where we're back to be able to prepare how we want and come in at different drop points. It's a new age, like didn't happen in your day. I'm not trying to say that you're from the Jurassic era. Well, actually, I am, but it's a new way of doing things, and it all lends back to T20 franchise cricket bouncing around the world. It's not a new way to do things.
What? We've always had optional sessions.
Optional sessions, but language like that, that's pretty...
All that says to me is Travis is understanding his game now.
Yeah.
He understands, okay, I need... you might have a 3-day lead in 4 days. Well, I only need 2 hits. I need to do 2 hits. This is what I need to do, and I'm okay not to hit. That to me, it's just a senior player talking about him understanding his game. There's forever been optional net sessions when you play, and there are times when you're younger in your career, you think, shit, is it really an option? Or do I have to go? Am I going to get in trouble? And that's all part of being a senior player in the environment, working out what works for you. And that's all that is there. We've all had times early in our career where they've got an optional day. And when you start, you'll see, these guys aren't training today. Geez, it's optional. Like, they might get in trouble. But what it is, it's just the senior players knowing what works for them. And that to me is where Travis Head is at in his game. He seems to me like one of those players that doesn't need to hit as many balls as a Marnus or a Steve Smith. And the best way, and we've seen on results, last Test Championship, I think Trav was on holidays, coming in for a short prep, and then was man of the match.
Yeah. Went to Disneyland in Paris, I think.
Yeah. So he knows now what works for him. Steve Smith's the same.
Yeah.
He knows what works for him. You've got guys in this new to the squad like Bo Webster. Well, he'll be working out what works for him also. So it's nothing new. The preparation now, I think Australia have done really well to tackle all the different formats. They don't play a lot of practice games now, which makes sense in the modern day, because a lot of the practice games you get are so different to what you're going to get in the test match. And their intensity that they do their training at now, that replicates a game or a tour game anyway. So I think they got it pretty spot on.
The question of the optional session is, being like yourself, a father of teenagers, it's like the optional, if you get a chance, can you wash the dishes? And that if you get a chance is heard more by the teenager than can you wash the dishes? And you get back home and what do you know? The Weet-Bix is still on the dirty plate and it's impossible to get off.
Well, it's all about growing up, all those situations, because once you hear optional, straight away as a younger player, you start to create doubt in your own mind. And that's all it is, creating doubt in your own mind. There's always, the environments have always been comfortable to do what you need to do, training-wise. It's just when you become a senior player and understand your game that it's a lot easier in your own mind.
So Australia wins in your eyes?
Yep. Yeah, Australia win.
Who's the big show? Who shows off at Lords?
Who shows off at Lords? Oh, I think the Hazelwood and Pat are going to be real hard work.
So Hazelwood was that good at the IPL?
Yep, he was. I tell you what he did is he bowled quick.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. He was operating over 140s at times. He was classy. He was really Paddy. I enjoyed watching. Their campaign probably wasn't what he thought, but when Paddy got the new ball, they were a different team. And I think sometimes because he bowls first change for us, but the reason he bowls first change is because he can do both roles. He's that good. So I think those two are going to cause absolute havoc. Starkey will do his job up front if it swings, but Cummins and Hazelwood are right on.
Just having a look at and you made mention a couple of weeks ago when we crossed you in one of your many hotels that you stayed in at the IPL about the possibility, if it's overcast and heavier conditions, you go maybe with a Boland as opposed to a Nathan Lyon. And that was absolutely no disrespect whatsoever to Nathan Lyon. But looking at the conditions, 24, 27, 23, only one day of cloud potentially.
No way you leave Lyon out. My only thing when I said that.
2 months ago you did.
No. I didn't leave Nathan out.
Yeah.
I'd never leave Nathan out of a test match. But what I said is if you got those conditions in the UK where it's overcast, it looks like the wicket's only going to need 3 days and he's not going to be needed, then maybe you've got an option to play bowling with guys coming off a shorter prep. But with the conditions where they are, Nathan's one of your first bowlers picked.
Okay. I'm sure he's going to enjoy walking up the stairs and down the stairs a bit more than the last time he was there.
Mate, what about last time? It was
the poor guy.
Mate, what about it'll be a different atmosphere for the Aussie boys, mate. Last time they walked through the long room, it was a bit hostile.
Do you reckon they're going to cop any crap from the crowd? Because your English neutrals will go there and cheer South Africa, won't they?
Yeah. I mean, everyone there will be cheering South Africa.
Oh, South Africa's provided England with a long list of legends for their cricket team.
I think what the English should be doing, they'll have all their scouts there saying, okay, who do we want qualified in the next 3 or 4 years?
What they should do, the ECB board should have a guard of honour for South Africa for everything, for services rendered to English cricket over the years.
Mate, it'd be great for Trotty, Pryor, KP, and go to watch a home game.
Alan Lamb, he'll be there too. We'll cop it then, you reckon? Yeah, crowd-wise?
That's okay. Yeah, that's okay. Our boys will enjoy that. They know how to deal with that. It's whether South Africa can handle it and they become emotional in the enormity of this contest. Our boys won't become emotional. They'll know how to get the job done. Is whether South Africa go in on too much of emotion and they blow themselves out in the first session. If they come hard at Australia and things don't go to plan, hang on a minute, what's plan B?
Well, Hads, once again, if they're none for 400 on stumps on day one, I'm blaming you. And if Marco Jansen takes 12, blaming you and Ricky Ponting. Lord Ricky Ponting. It's your fault.
Blame punter.
Your fault. But that's our World Test Championship preview. We're off to a short break here on Willow Talk. We're going to talk IPL with Hads, the adventure that was the IPL in 2025. And we've got some fun stuff in Sundries too. Back in a moment. Back on Willow Talk with Hads, who's back from the IPL as his role on the coaching staff of Punjab just fell short in the end. Hads, it was the IPL always throws up something different. Threw up something different this time with the threatening of an outbreak of a full-scale war. Fortunately, things calmed down a bit there on the border, and you stayed there. So before we get to the cricket, was how close were you to coming home, chilling out here before going back? You stayed there the whole time.
Yeah, well, I was just about to leave the hotel in Delhi. And then we got word that the tournament was starting on Friday. So would have gone home for a couple of days. They basically drop your bags off and turn around. So all our coaching staff stayed. The next day, after all the foreigners left, our local players started to arrive back. A lot of them actually went and played some games.
Oh, yeah?
Some of our young kids, as soon as it got thought it was going to call off, went and played some of their local cricket. So, yeah, it wasn't that big a deal. I was going downstairs. We thought the tournament was off. Had my bags packed, just checked out of the hotel, and they said, the tournament's back on Friday. I went, no worries, take the gear back up to the room and started to get ready for the next 24 hours and 48 hours, what it looked like from coaches when our players arrived, what we needed to do. We're just trying then to get information in the drawer so you can work back from our first game to make sure our players were right for when we did start, because we're in such a good position. And that's what it turned around to. We had a couple of days myself, Ricky, Hopesy, a few other support staff just to chill around the hotel. But it was more about informal chats about, okay, this is when we think it's going to start. What's it look like working back? So we don't miss 2 games. Like, you don't want to be in a position we were in and start slow again the tournament and all your hard work you put in for 2.5 months. So that was our main focus.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like, obviously we're here getting reports about what's going on and what's going to make a headline. Yeah. Well, it's war breaks out. That's going to make it. And you weren't being flippant there about, there's no problem. You were given the right advice at the right time to and take care of yourselves over there. But then they were wedged, the tournament organisers, because they didn't want to put games too close to the border just in case it kicked off again. But they couldn't play in the south because the rain was starting to fall. So there was only a select few and that's to get the tournament done.
Yeah, and that's what had to be decided. Okay, where's it going to be? How's the best way to get through the remainder of the tournament? And that's fine. Administration has to do that. And they were doing everything they could. As coaches, you will always want to know 24 hours earlier. And so where we were at is just making sure that when we hit the ground, like we had a physio there, head of performance, and saying, okay, what's this going to look like now? Because the logistics behind everyone going home, which is fine. They had a couple of days home, that's fine. Okay, some people travel well. Some people don't travel well, and you need, okay, they can't hit balls for 2 or 3 days because they get stiff after a flight. Others are right to go here. So all we went back into is straight into coaching mode again.
Yeah.
That's honestly what the discussions were. How once we knew our date, is how are we going to have everyone available fitness-wise? Like, oh, hang on, do we play a Marco Jansen after he's been on a long flight straight away? But we're lucky he only went to South Africa. It's UAE.
He went up to Dubai, yeah, right. So, yeah, I mean, it was very dramatic how it all played out. Obviously, the lights went off after 12 overs. And on reflection, I reckon even the BCCI admit, should we have played that in Dharamshala that night when it was all kind of a bit heightened? Yeah. But anyway, it was good to see that the tournament rolled on and got done, and exciting crescendo. How close do you reckon you guys were on reflection to knocking over RCB and not making Virat Kohli cry with happiness? Instead, it might have been a different emotion from the great man.
Yeah, RCB were class through the tournament. Hazelwood had a great tournament. They were really good in their recruitment too. They picked a lot of power hitters to complement the way Virat Kohli plays with his consistency. So, they were too good for us in the final. We had opportunities where we could have taken the game, but I think in the end, you talk about where we came from as a team and a franchise, and we hadn't made the finals in 11 years or maybe even longer, but it still sucks losing. Like, you sit down and you do your reviews and, we've come a long way.
Yeah.
And you go, and you got to take emotion out of your reviews. Yes, we played a lot of uncapped players. We've got some good stories here. And you go, fuck it, we still lost. and that'll always be there, but we're building towards something. We had some really big finds in the tournament. Priyanj, our young opener, who plays a similar style to Seawag. He was outstanding. Prab at the top, his partner, I think at one stage he got 5 50s in a row as an uncapped player. I actually tell you a story about that as well. Young kids in that environment, you've got to make them feel as comfortable as you can. And coming into IPL can be daunting. And what you're trying to do is create a really family atmosphere so these kids can be themselves. And it's interesting. He said to us, we're talking about Indian food. He said, my mum is the best cook.
Everyone says that.
Yep. So he said, I'll get my mum to bring some food in.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Is he a local?
Yeah,
from
a
up
local.
that way?
So she brought some food in. Karina was there. My kids and everyone were there. All the staff. Priti Zinta, the owner, walked past and she had some. And how proud he was. Yes, the mother's proud of the son, the way he's doing, but how proud they both were
to feed the team.
Mate, it was like wow, this meant so much. And then he went on that streak of 5 50s in a row. You got to find ways for these guys to feel uncomfortable in the environment, and different stories like that happen through the whole tournament. And you're talking about the final. I'll go back to the semi-final, the game before.
Which one? The one you played against them to get into?
No,
against Gujarat.
The where we beat Mumbai.
Oh, Mumbai. Sorry,
yeah,
Mumbai beat Gujarat.
So you do all your planning for the game, and at that game at this stadium at Ahmedabad, everything says bat first. Everything. You're going through your analytics, you're going through your matchups, have your team stuff. And this is where our captain hasn't got enough credit. And I hope when they come down to pick an Indian captain, they really start to consider Iyer. Mate, he was outstanding through the whole tournament. And anyway, so we're batting first. Says to him, yep. He goes, nah, we're bowling. And you go, yep, because as punter goes, mate, it's the captain will make the choice. He goes, no, I'll win the game. I'm going to bat second.
Worked for us in the World Cup final with Travis Head.
Anyway, everything leads
Same ground.
to bowling. Everything leads to batting first. We bowl. Captain comes out in the second innings and plays one of the best IPL knocks I've ever seen to get us into the final.
Was that like 90 or 50 or something like
that? Yeah, he just was in total control. But it's funny as a coach, you do all your work, you're planning, and sometimes you've got to trust your players. Trust that gut instinct and that competitiveness that they're going to perform. And he just said, no, I'm batting second. How good. With
that game and the final as well, so packed house, I'm guessing, 130,000 people there.
Yeah.
Like, is that an atmosphere that you hadn't seen since maybe you out in the centre of a
2015.
boxing?
2015 when we got Brendan McCullum out.
Yeah.
But the atmosphere was
off the charts.
Mate, off the chart.
And this is a neutral venue as well. This is a long
I don't know
way.
if it was neutral.
Well, everyone's Coley.
Everyone was Coley.
Yeah.
That was the sentimental story. But, mate, what it's good for, especially our uncapped players, to play in an environment like that, win, lose, or draw, and see how they react. See how you react, because you're in front of 100,000 people. So they'll become better for that. There'll be great conversation starters next time. How'd you feel there? Were you overawed? Were you, oh no, like some will love it. Some will say, oh, I probably thought about this too much. But it's great to get exposure like that. And someone mate, I've been retired for 10 years to be back in an environment like that.
Yeah.
Where you just sort of start to get a bit twitchy and go, oh.
Wish I was playing.
Yeah, how good would it be?
Or for someone like Josh Inglis, for instance.
Yeah.
Who found his place in the lineup, wasn't in your first 11 early doors, was he?
No, he didn't. He found his way in I tell you what, he's going to be a superstar of IPL. A bit like Butler.
Yeah.
Because what he can do, he's so hard to bowl to, because he's got the luxury of playing the reverse ramps and he can manipulate the field. And, mate, in that semi, Bumrah comes on and he doesn't bowl the first few overs. He bowls the fourth. But what you want to get him to do, you want to get him to come on earlier in the game. So you want him to come on earlier so he finishes his 4 before the last 15 over 15, so he got the last 5 without him because he's so good there. And Josh Inglis, to take it on himself, he comes in to bowl, big moment in the game. He takes Bumrah on and gets 20 off the over. So on the surface, you go, oh, how good's that, 20 off the over? But there's a bigger story to that. It's all of a sudden, your younger players in the group who haven't batted, mate, they grow.
Yeah.
Mate, look what Josh has just done to Bumrah, and they put him on a pedestal. All of a sudden, you see your own dugout starting to grow. And from that moment then, you could see our blokes go, we've got this. We're chasing 200. We've got this. The belief little moments can make.
So it sounds like you're looking forward to 2026 IPL already.
Yep.
You need a break first, but
I need a break.
Go back over there.
Need to get over losing, but there's a lot of good things.
But it sounds like you put something in place where you're looking.
Yeah, punter was outstanding. Punters, if you sit there and someone asks me what influence Ricky Ponting had, and I can give you an answer, mate. His cricket brain, is as good as anyone. His knowledge of batting, bowling, and fielding. But that's not what I'd talk about. I would talk about the care he has for everyone in the group, not just the player 11, but the guys that aren't playing, to your social media team. And he treats everyone the same. So everyone felt part of something bigger. It's not just the players. And mate, the cricket stuff's easy. You go to training and you find ways to get the players better. But once you get a group of men and an organisation to buy in with care, then you know you're starting something special.
I can see it already. Willow Talk, Punjab.
Oh, yeah.
2026 social media team.
Mate, I reckon that works.
Yeah, we'll get over there.
You'd look good in the Punjab red.
Yeah. Oh, did you bring me back a hat?
I got your hat.
Hey, you beauty. We can add it to our shelf. I'll wear it everywhere. Proudly. What about your player of the tournament?
Yeah.
So Suryavanshi was probably the headline of the tournament. 14-year-olds don't score centuries at that level, and he did.
Well,
is he that good?
Mate, I tell you what, he's 14.
Yeah.
I just dropped my 13-year-old off on a bus to go on an excursion for 2 days. He's a year older than Hugo, and it wasn't the way...
No offence to Hugo, but it's not his fault.
Well, it was the way he went about his work.
Yeah.
Like, he took the best on. He got 100 off 40 balls. Then he backed it up with a 50. He was not intimidated one little bit. Like, when we played, he just took Marco on straight away. Mate, they were 100 off no time. We fought our way back into the game. But is it the greatest knock ever in IPL? You go back to Brendan McCullum, the first one, 150. Mate, we know McCullum's style of play. We know how destructive he can be. 14. I don't think it's
been twice his age at that stage.
I don't think we've given it enough airtime on how big this is. I can't think of another more significant moment than a 14-year-old getting 100 in the IPL. If you just sit down over a coffee and just go, he's 14.
Not bad.
Oh.
And Rajasthan have got him for at least the next 2 years.
Well,
don't they? Because isn't it a 3-year cycle now with the contracts?
If you look at players playing to their 40, mate, they've got him for the next 25 years. It's
they've probably got him at unders at the moment though.
Yeah, and he'll learn a lot from that. I watched him play. He's the way he went about. Like he's going to have to learn how to put his presence on the game, fielding, how to play a role there. But I don't think I've seen a bigger moment. Like I can't get my head around a 14-year-old doing that, mate. You're doing your times tables.
Yeah.
He only goes up by sixes.
Exactly. Now, Hads, while you're over there, Virat Kohli stood down, or did he stand down? What was the the backstory feeling about why Virat Kohli is no longer a Test player? Because he's not on the tour of India. I am trying to line things up with Gautam Gambhir and the fallout from the Australia tour to say that you can't bring your families there for a certain period now. We were all together on the bus, this, that. And it just felt like that was a reaction to that. And maybe Virat Kohli thought, now's a good time. It's a new era. I'm done. I've done all I can. Love Test cricket, but not enough to keep going.
I don't think any of that came in to his decision-making, to be honest. I think the one thing what I admire about Virat Kohli for a long time is that he prioritised Test cricket. He made Test cricket 10 years ago funky. When you've got IPL going on, the bright lights and the money, his number one focus has always been Test cricket. And I just think he'd had enough. He probably wasn't contributing as much as he would have liked over the last couple of years. And I think he's been wrestling with this decision for some time. I don't think this is only my view, I don't think it's got anything to do with the entourage you can bring on tours. I just think he'd had enough. He'd put all his energy into being the the best Test player he could possibly be, and he did that, and he prioritised that, and a nation and a world loved him for that. And I honestly just think he had enough. There was talk about, if he was given the captaincy, he would have gone on. But I just think he'd achieved everything he needed to achieve.
Fair enough. How do you reckon it went down with the BCCI or the organisers of the IPL when he said, "Oh yeah, this is good," and he was very emotional about it after winning with RCB, but Test cricket's 5 times better still.
I still think that's why he's one of the greats of the game, because IPL is great fun. 2020 is great fun. 50 over world events are enormous. But you still want to be judged on how you perform in Test cricket. And Kohli didn't change that from day one.
Yeah.
He'll play IPL now for however long. He'll be successful there. We've seen other countries prioritise 2020 because they can make a great living out of it. But he always wanted to be tested in the toughest arena, and that didn't change. And you got to respect that.
Absolutely. So we'll get into what now for India in the coming weeks. We'll look ahead to that England series, which we'll talk about in depth on Willow Talk over the next few months. But we'll get to Sundries now, and we have 7 new inductees into the Hall of Fame. Matthew Hayden, Hashim Amla, MS Dhoni, Graham Smith, Dan Vittori, Sanya Mir, and Sarah Taylor. Haydos.
Big DOS.
Big DOS.
Mate.
Esteemed company. Belongs in a place of esteemed company.
Mate, he belongs up there with the best of them, mate. He did the hard yards for years with Queensland, dominated state cricket on a tough wicket at the Gabba. He averaged 50, put a presence on the game. But the one thing I admire most about Matty Hayden is when I first started in the Australian squad, it was the passion that they had to play for Australia. And that your behaviours had to be different. And this did mean a lot to a lot of people. And that's the one thing that stands out most to me. Haydos would probably say his is the first to start Willow Talk.
Yeah, he's the godfather. I got that question wrong in a little survey that I did before.
Yeah, he's the godfather of Willow Talk. But to me, I learned a lot of great lessons on playing for Australia. And I remember one of them, he said, no matter what you do in your career, mate, every Test match means the same. But if you don't win an Ashes series, you'll regret it for the rest of your life.
Oh well, you did. Well done,
mate. I love the big man. I think he deserves everything that comes his way. He never lets me forget. He dismissed me in my first class game, New South Wales versus Queensland. I still think the only reason he got it, the umpire was intimidated by him.
Yeah.
And gave the
Big
young
appeal.
kid out, LB.
LB, was it?
Yeah.
Were you out?
Why? Only because it was him. I wasn't going to argue.
Were you outside the line, were you?
Mate, I would have been walking halfway down the wicket at Haydos. But no, he deserves it. There's some great inductees, but to have Big Dos there, mate, full love. Well done, mate.
England got it done in the Harry Brook era, the start of with the white ball cricket, beating West Indies 3-0, 2-0 in the one-days and T20 comps. I told you Jamie Smith was going to open. Remember I told you a couple of weeks ago and you went, what? They're going to put him up there?
Is he going to play the next Test?
We'll wait and see. As an opener.
Well, they got a decision to make.
About Zach Crawley.
Well, Zach Crawley got 100 last Test match.
He did. Was it a test though? True test?
Was this a true test? West Indies, a couple of one-days and 2020s.
They got some options. It feels like they got
Jacob Bethel's got to come back into that team.
Yeah, a few options with their batting, and their bowling seems like, well, who's available first of all, and then we'll fit the 3 or 4 in that we need to. But he's a talent.
Yes, he is talent.
Yeah.
I think it was a really brave selection to pick him. He's good with the gloves. He's a fighter with the bat, which you want as your keeper. But they've got to find a spot for young Jacob Bethel. The last time he played, he was outstanding against New Zealand at number 3. Ollie Pope had that position. He's vice captain. He got a big 100 in the Test match regionally. So can he take the gloves? The interesting thing I seen when they released their squad and this just might be my weird way of looking at it.
Yeah, what?
Is they released a squad.
Yeah.
They had Smith, wicketkeeper.
Yeah.
And they also, against Ollie Pope, had wicketkeeper.
So, what are they going to do?
Well, I've never seen that.
Yeah.
When they've named a squad.
It's good to have options.
No, he's always been in the squad.
Yeah.
But they've never... Are they considering him now?
Pope is the keeper.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. Who's the better gloveman?
Smith.
Yeah. Didn't work out for him last time, did it? I remember you said that they had a better option than Johnny Bairstow as the gloveman. And how'd that go down?
Yeah. Well, let's just see. Let's just see how far I'm off the mark.
Okay. So 10 days' time as we sit here right now to the start of that series against India. Yep. There was a video last week as well of the English team having to get on line bikes and get down a K down the road to the game. Their bus broke down. Well, if that happens here in Australia, I'm proposing that they get on e-scooters and then maybe every boomer in town can just start yelling at them and take them out with their doors on their cars and things like that. So, yeah.
Mate, you always think...
Do you have to
No, I've
improvise
never
like
been
that?
late.
I know you've never been late,
No.
but have you never ever had to get a mode of transport that you didn't think you did have to get to a game?
No. Oh,
Like a tuk-tuk or something like that, the subcontinent, or...
no.
No? Never?
No.
Always lucky with your buses. Heinrich Klaassen, by the way, he retired from all international cricket.
Yeah.
Sounds like he's going freelance. Good idea for his,
Well, it's a good idea.
for his future financial
Mate.
prospects, because I reckon he'll be in demand.
Well, mate, good luck to him.
Mm.
Mate, he will be in demand. He's one of the top 3 short form batters in the world. And why I say short form, not just 2020, 50 over format as well. And this is a really funny one for me because communication broke down here because there's in negotiations, by my understanding, with South Africa around contracts, having a sort of a hybrid sort of model because he wanted to play different 2020 tournaments and he wanted to get to the 2027 World Cup with South Africa. And my understanding when Rob Walters was there, that was all done.
Yep.
That was all agreed on, and he left and communication broke down, and now he's announced his retirement. I think, mate, good luck to him. I'm disappointed he won't be in the South African setup, especially in a World Cup in 2027. Hope they can find some...
That can change.
It can.
Yeah.
But I think if communication, especially in the modern game, we've seen New Zealand do it with hybrid contracts. South Africa are doing it a bit with white and red. But, I want to see him still playing white ball cricket at least for his country because he's still at the peak of his powers.
Rob Walters, you mentioned him there. He's actually the new Black Caps New Zealand white ball coach. It's another job you missed out on, Hads. I reckon you would have been perfect for it. Absolutely perfect for it. He was the coach of South Africa. And I did notice as well...
I didn't miss out on any.
Well, I did notice an article written by a good friend, Ben Horn, saying that Brad Haddin is the best coach, not in a job at the moment.
I'm in a job.
Exactly. If you leave Willow Talk here to go and coach somewhere, you're dead to me, all right? Here's your future, Willow Talk, all right? Don't worry about this coaching,
Mate,
Kay, but coach
I
your
agree.
sons. Look after them, whatever.
Mate, I'm only their dad.
Yeah. No, not in cricket, footy. Go, touch footy, golf,
Rob
whatever.
Walter, anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm shocked.
You're shocked?
Yeah. Because my understanding was guys like Bondi and that had put their name forward
Shane
for that.
Bond,
Yeah.
yep.
Mate, he's coached all around the world with a lot of success. And the Kiwis have had success with homegrown talent. Mate, they just find a way with understrength teams to perform in big events. And I think a lot of that has to do with the camaraderie that they have.
Team cohesion.
Yeah.
Well, they produced some, like you look at Dan Vettori,
Yeah.
Stephen Fleming, who's
Baz,
been in the
yeah.
IPL forever. Brendan McCullum, they punch above their weight in terms
Yeah.
of producing coaches.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah.
Mike Hessen, he's now at Pakistan. So Rob Walter's been around. I don't know much about him, never come across him. But he's had a couple of international jobs. I'm surprised they didn't go a Kiwi.
There you go. Hads, good to have you back in town.
Mate, it's good. It's good to be back. You struggled without me, didn't you?
No.
Yeah, mate, it looked like it. The ratings said that.
No, it's fine.
No.
Heels was great.
No, Heels was very good, but it was more you I was worried about.
It's fine.
Your mental state wasn't the same.
No, it was actually clear. I didn't have to put up your garbage about Canberra going well in the NRL and Manly not going so well. Anyway, that's that edition of Willow Talk. Our next episode will be a reflection of the World Test Championship final here on Willow Talk. So stay across our socials. We'll update through there. But we'll
That'll
be back.
3.5 days, won't it?
Probably. Would think so. Thanks for that, Hads.
Good to be back.
Have a good one, everyone. Yeah, thanks for watching the Willow Talk podcast on YouTube. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't have to miss an episode wherever you are. And while you're at it, check out these videos up here. They're mostly good.